stage, still ain't getting no second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn, because one street over there's a life I could have known, would have kept me from one I had today. Time's gone by, I've traded black dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street always now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes.
Good morning. I'm going to interrupt the guys. Hello, this is 1100 WSGI. You know what we're doing. This is One Street Over, a chance to see what's going on One Street Over from where you live in. My brothers are in the house. Some of my CR brothers. I got Spence and Matt in here. Matt Driscoll, Spence Boston. And, yeah, we were talking. I mean, it's hard to not just kind of sit. I think I should have said, okay, guys, I need you to get here 10 minutes early so we can catch up before we turn the microphones on.
We were here 10 minutes
Yeah,
early.
we were early.
We were here 10 minutes early.
15. My mom said if you're not here 15 minutes early, you're late.
I'm sorry. I've been getting here
I mean,
really.
it sounded very accusatory to me when you said that, right?
You
Just
know,
gotta make
and
sure
you're
we're
right.
correcting the story
Okay,
here.
I
got a
have
feeling.
been doing so much better. Well, this summer I was
I could see how red your brake pads were as you're coming through up the drive. Okay.
okay. So I've been trying really hard to get here earlier, and I've been just throwing the Spindo. Hey, Paul's saying hi,
Hey,
Spindo.
Paul.
I was like, what, Paul? I forgot that's what they call you in the fire office at fire hall, Spindo. But what's Paul's nickname?
Lizard.
Lizard. I'm gonna start calling him Lizard. He's really good friends with one of my best friends at church. They go to Mexico with us. They run Celebrate Recovery with us. I got to know them when I was working at the Benevolent Center because they just volunteer. They're the busiest retired people I know.
They are.
You know.
Isn't it crazy like this small world how things are connected? Like I met somebody this weekend last weekend that knew one of the teachers at school knows you and Mark from church and back in the day, the Balkums.
Oh yeah.
Me and
Absolutely.
she's teaching at our school, but we were working at prom together and we were talking about it's crazy what a small
Isn't
world
that
is.
wild? I just love that. But anyway, we're just, I know. I've been trying to get here earlier. I've been throwing the ball cap on, just being real casual for the summer. And I've just been looking at myself this week on the recording we do. And I'm like, man, I look like a bum. And so I'm like, I'm going to have to get up and fix my hair and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, and just a programming note, Lee Marie's going to fill in for me Monday and Tuesday. I'm going to take a couple of days just to kind of decompress. And anyway, but so thank you, Lee Marie, for that. And but this is CR Day. We've got it's so funny because you know, and we'll definitely have to get you guys in again sometime this summer because with the kids out of school, you've got more free time, and of course, Matt is teaching in Cheatham. And so he's busy and even coaching football. I didn't know you were doing that. I had no idea you were doing that. So that's really cool. So, but
my own Belichick hoodie going on.
I know. You
yeah.
told me about
Sleeve it
that.
off, it's awesome.
So, what part of the team are you handling? Are you the head coach?
No, running backs and special teams.
Okay. Well, that's really cool. How exciting. And so my husband and I are in the Robertson County school system, and Spence has got a bunch of kids.
He does.
You don't. How many kids are you guys are fostering kids, right?
Yes, we have 5 currently.
Oh, God bless you. That's so special. That is so special. I just love that. But it's just busy during the school season. So during the school year. So this is a better, we want to definitely get together, and we have the 5th Friday because most of our Fridays are booked out, but we can get together on any day and talk about Celebrate Recovery. But you guys just opened up at Calvary
5
Baptist. Do what?
We've been at it for 5 weeks now.
5 weeks now, and I haven't gotten there yet. I will. It's just, I tell you, my world is so busy because all my family lives away.
Right.
I've got kids in Jackson. I got one in Huntsville. I got one in Mount Juliet, one up in the LaVern area, nephew in Kansas City. My brother's in Paducah or Mayfield, and then my husband's family's in Canada, practically, the Upper Peninsula. So, we're just like, all over the place. So it's hard to, Sundays is a big visiting day for us. We'll go and, make the 2-hour trek to the ones that are just a couple hours away. So Sundays are a travel day for us. So anyway, but is it going well?
It's going well.
Good deal.
We've given away 10 blue chips so far. That's
wow.
kinda how I gauge things. Our numbers have been real good for a startup, I believe. Mm-hmm. But those 10 blue chips, which is the surrender chip, if you don't understand CR lingo, that's where we start. And we've given away 10 so far in 5 weeks.
Very good. That's awesome. And how are things with you? I haven't been at Epiphany in the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to be gone this Tuesday. We've just are just on the road so much. But with baseball, it's baseball right now. I'm telling you, it's crazy.
Slow and steady. Still
I
going
know. But and that's where I cut my teeth, was at Epiphany, and it was so funny because I still remember the day he had reached out to me on social media, and hey, we're starting to celebrate recovery, and I didn't even know, I had no idea what he was talking about, mm-hmm. and it wasn't until really COVID came in, I started coming because we got to be friends just instantly, and just love him and Christy, because especially y'all's military background. I have so much respect for military. She's still serving, Chief Driscoll. I just love that. That's so stinking cool. But anyway, and so, we just got to be friends really quickly. And so I started coming to Epiphany, and then we had COVID happened. And I thought, well, this is something, they wanted us to work from home. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. And so that's what we started working towards, building ours at Madison. And it's so funny. So many of my friends will say, well, we came to help LaVern. And then we realized, we all need this.
That's what makes the ministry so good, is that it's not, I share the stats with you all the time. 33% of the folks that come have addiction. It's the other folks, 66% of us. I refuse to call myself an alcoholic anymore. I'm not. So I don't crave it. I don't desire it, but I still struggle with depression. I struggle with anxiety, codependency.
Right.
Those are the character traits that led to my alcohol, my alcohol addiction. That was the alcohol was just a byproduct of those. And ultimately you see, like, I've been 9 years actually officially today.
Yeah.
The official day today.
God bless you. Congratulations.
It was our first time at CR, and
9 years today.
9 years today officially.
Wow.
Memorial Day is the day I consider my anniversary, because it was Memorial Day Monday, just where it fell that year. But anyways, through the 9 years of witnessing testimonies and hearing inventories from people working the steps, we all have the same hurts. We all still have the same hang-ups. It's just, what do we turn it to?
Yeah.
Some turn to drugs, some alcohol, some binge watching TV, some food, some work. A story I like to share is an old boss I had, and man, this brother knew his business, knew his job, but he would literally put 30 hours in a 24-hour day into the work. And I'd wake up in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning and see emails already from him that he was sending out at 3 in the morning. It's like, dude, why don't you go hug your wife or something? Go play with your kids.
Take a breath. Yeah.
Take a moment. But that was his addiction. But, I was already in CR at the time. And it's kind of cool, like, when you're in CR for a while and you understand, to listen to people's stories on how they grew up and stuff like that. It's obvious why he has his work addiction. Obviously, being the employee, I was never going to come out and point out and say, hey, I have something for you. Not really the best career move there. But,
right.
But it was just one of those things where it helped me deal with him.
Right.
That's very annoying when you wake up and you're getting your emails blasted by somebody at like 6 o'clock in the morning. They've already got like 5 emails out. Hey, today, do this. Da, da, da. It kind of drives you nuts a little bit.
Can you wait till I get to the office?
Yeah, can we at least wait? I don't start work until I hit the door, right?
Right.
But just sitting down and talking with him through the years during that period and hearing his story, it's like, okay, wow, this is why he is the way he is. CR makes it easier to deal with people.
It does.
Yeah.
Because once you start understanding the psychology behind addictions, the psychology behind basically us being that one lost sheep in the valley, once you understand the psychology, what got us in that valley to force Jesus to come down and throw us over his shoulder, just makes it easier to understand folks.
Yes, it does, and that's the thing. It's just it's so breathtaking. We have had so many conversations with our ministry team at Madison because they'll be talking about something from the pulpit or in Bible class and talking about the things that the body of Christ needs. And we're like, you're describing Celebrate Recovery.
Yep. Every time.
Every time. And it's so funny. And our preacher, our Michael has just the other day said something about, he goes, yeah, and this is that's what Celebrate Recovery is. And so we're getting him kind of accustomed to kind of throwing that out and just reminding people, it's for everybody, and we all have stuff that we're dealing with. It's just so real. I love it.
It's what the church was initially intended to be. You know, look at this room right here.
Yeah.
It's a discipleship pathway.
Right.
Yes.
All right. So just looking at this room right here, you said, okay, you and I talked, luckily me being persistent, coming in here, we're starting to talk, and now you've launched a CR, you've embraced CR. Spence and I, we both share a sponsor. Mm-hmm. He was a good leader at Long Hollow. We saw his leadership, and you see what people are in CR, and that becomes your new addiction.
Right.
Because you're like, wow, that's joy. And now you're looking at, in this room right here, so there's 4 startups just between the 3 of us. I started with Indian Lake here at Springfield, Spence at his, you at yours. And next thing you know, you guys eventually over time, you guys will be doing something, and folks will be like, hey, you know what? I need to bring this to my church.
Right.
That's really how CR is spread. There's no magic pixie dust. There's no cult or nothing like that. No. It's just a matter of seeing the joy that folks have for Jesus and for clean living.
Yeah.
There's so many things I never thought I could do sober. But now it's like, wow, this is awesome. I can actually go to a Super Bowl party and, I remember every play now. Wow, what a concept.
That's funny. I remember when the first time I heard you say that, it just made me laugh because that's typically, I remember you were talking about you and Chrissy were one time watching in a
downtown,
somewhere that they had all the screens up, and y'all were probably the only sober people there.
We're the only 2 sober people in the entire place. There was nothing but Patriot fans. We had a blast.
Yeah.
It was the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl, the one that had down in Atlanta. And we almost bought the tickets, but we just couldn't justify the price of the tickets.
Right.
We were in Atlanta for the pregame and all that.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, let's head back and we'll watch it somewhere back home. So as we're driving back, we found this place that was New England Patriots Fan Club is what it's called. And she said, hey, let's go check out this place. All right. So we got there early, good seats. And by the time the game time started, it was just nothing but Patriot fans, and everybody was so sauced up. It was unreal. Mm-hmm. It was like I felt like I was back home in New England. All right, the accents were wicked good, guy. The beer was flowing. It was wicked awesome. But we were the only 2 sober people in the place, and it was we had a blast. It was you can have a good time.
Yes, you can, and you can have a so much better time.
You used to have to get up every Sunday morning and rewatch the college football game. Because I didn't have any idea what the score was or who won.
Right.
Who did what.
Yeah.
Don't have those.
And that was normal. No. Yeah. Well, no, I do not.
It's an awesome feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. And you talking about your anniversary. My anniversary, I got a blue chip. My primary blue chip was on tax day. So tax day is my anniversary, like yours, Memorial Day.
That's my birthday.
And well, there you go. One of my best friends, her birthday is the day before tax day, and she's an auditor. Isn't that interesting? Not with taxes, but anyway. It just amazes me how much it's helped me. Mm-hmm. And I don't have the chemical or alcohol addiction, but I do struggle with food. If I'm addicted to anything, but it's things that have happened through my spiritual walk. And I've talked a lot about how that I've always felt the call to be a minister, but I had that door shut for me because I was a girl. Mm-hmm. And it was something that really, turned me off. And I had a lot of bitterness with being from a biracial family and from the 70s in West Kentucky. 79 was when my nephew was born. But nonetheless, having dealt with those, and just being bitter at the church and the way some of the things were handled and all those kinds of things, is for that stuff too.
Right.
It's for
there's a lot of church hurt out there. You
bet. And I have met so many people who have, because we we shut the door to the church, and I shut the door to the church for a long time because I was just bitter. I was like, well, I don't want nothing to do with you hypocrites, that kind of thing. And it was only just a handful. It's always, anytime you try to point it's like, well, I don't want anything to do with this institution anymore because of this. And it's usually like one or two knuckleheads.
Right.
The rest of them just don't know what to do, They just, it's that the quote, the only way for evil to succeed is when good men do nothing. And so the things that I've learned about that, you just gotta just be Jesus, man. And it's just so simple. All my relationships are better because of CR, because it helps me to go, that's just not a big deal.
Right.
That's just not a big deal. Move on,
keep
man.
Things in perspective.
Yeah. Relationships, your relationships with people who you treasure are so much more important than your opinion about whatever, fill in the blank, or your, they did this. It's like, well, they didn't mean to. It's like,
Right.
Anyway,
like
you know what I mean?
It bleeds into our lives too. I think both of you and I, as we got an education later in our lives, the reasons why we did it, I think, are pretty much the same. You and I have had the conversation.
Yeah.
We can sit back and complain about things, or be part of the solution.
Amen.
And I think we both pretty much use that as our fuel to go into education.
Yep.
That's why I'm getting my doctorate. And I would not be doing the things I'm doing if not through the power of God and Jesus Christ to give me the strength and to realize to say, okay, it's time to get off the couch and get in the game. And that's what CR kind of has you do, whether it be through addiction. If I ever decide to run for office, one thing I'm still considering.
I'm trying to talk him out of it because I did.
I do, but the three things I'm so passionate about is the drug addiction problem that we have.
Right.
Our mental health, the way we're handling mental health in society today, and education.
Yeah.
And those are three things that really, if I ever want to affect change, is going to be through the state level. And, through CR, you gain the strength to be willing to stand up and say, no, this is wrong. I'm going to call a ball, a strike, a strike. And I don't know about you two, but for me, I found that it is so much easier today to live my life 100% transparently.
Yes.
I know for myself, I know I'm like I'm like a flavor of wine. Some you may like me, you may not, whatever. It's I have my own flavor to the way I act and talk and stuff, but you don't care. It's okay.
It's like I'm just being real.
Yeah, how I am here with you guys is how I am at home, how I am in my classroom, how I am on the football field, wherever I'm the same way in all aspects. I'm going to call a ball, a strike, a strike. And that's what Jesus calls us to do. He does not call you to sit on the sidelines and Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah.
Get in the fight.
That's the thing. I hear so many people that are like this about the schools and this about well, you don't have any clue unless you've been in the schools.
Right.
Unless you're in there. It's like, I don't necessarily like the way the package that we're having to deal with, but it's what we built. And so the only way to facilitate change is to get in the trenches and try to make a difference. I've met so many wonderful, wonderful people who have dedicated their life to teaching. And man, I'll get real defensive for them because they are, people who have never married, they've given their life to these kids. And I'm like, come on. And I mean, and not just that, but in just families that have just worked so hard in the school system. And it's just incredible.
I'm a soapbox for a moment on that one because, again, call a ball, strike a strike, thanks to CR. And the way we learned how to kind of live life through it is I was watching episode of The Five yesterday on Fox. They're talking about San Francisco's trying to change. They were trying to change their grading system where 20 is now is a failing level mark.
20
and 80 is an A. They're complete. It's completely weird. And on there, I think it was Gutfeld said, well, this is just an excuse for teachers to get lazy. And I got offended by that because, no, it's not the teachers. It's the problem comes. It's the school boards. There's a whole vicious cycle. The parents are afraid of their parents are afraid of their kids. The school board's afraid of the parents. Admin is afraid of the school boards. Yeah. Teachers are afraid of there. So who's the ultimate running the asylum is the students.
Right. The students. It's like we were talking.
And we continue to lower these standards. This is me calling a ball, strike a strike.
Yeah.
And everybody I've discussed my whole thesis statement on for my doctorate is rubbing the wrong way. Mm-hmm. I'm just calling a ball, a strike a strike. Mm-hmm. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. I mean, at some point we got to get around to some normality and some common sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like I was telling you guys beforehand. I said, we've gotten to a place where the stories that we hear through Celebrate Recovery of the things that have led to a lot of the addiction issues and the compulsive things that we do are tragic. Some of the things that used to happen to children and still happen, but we don't turn a blind eye to it. I mean, every one of us have stories that we've heard either from friends or family. It's like, I can't believe that happened to you. People who were abused in some way, true abuse. And so we're so paranoid that our children are going to be exposed to that we're making sure, okay, don't do this. If this happens. And so we're teaching them not to be victims.
Yeah, we're overcompensating.
And we've teaching them not to be victims, but we've forgotten how to teach them not to act like a victim when they're not. And everybody's a victim.
They're always on guard.
And it's like, are you kidding me? Come on.
You know my story. You know my testimony well. And there's a lot of abuse in there. There was sexual abuse, physical abuse, verbal, everything. Now, I'm not saying I would love to have that happen again. It was great times, but it wouldn't make me the man that I am today if I didn't have that happen.
Right.
And I had to learn how to work through it. Now, some were negative things, which led me to CR, which led to the drinking and the sexual addictions and stuff like that. A lot of those hurts obviously bled into that too, but also there's a lot of good as well that I was able to take those hurts and manifest it into something positive. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I joined the military for many reasons, but maybe part of the reason psychologically was by you look at a lot of the folks in the military, they had struggled with life or had rough times growing up. It was kind of our way in a sense of we didn't like being bullied or we didn't like being a victim. So we're going to go out there and make sure that there's nobody on the rest of the world can be a bully or
yeah.
I don't know if I'm making sense.
It's that empathy. It's that empathy of like, I've been through this. I've been bullied. I've dealt with this. And so I'm going to go out there and I'm going to help others overcome it and also make sure I'm strong enough that it never happens again.
And that was all long before, was all long before CR. And I think if you actually look at a lot of military folks, I mean, we're not the most mentally sound group. Okay. I'm just going to be honest. That's why the military loves us. All right. You're not getting too many nuclear family kind of vanilla lifestyle joining the military. Usually it's folks that kind of
got an edge.
Had an edge. Have had some.
I mean, my son did, but
yeah.
And he was one of them that just really needed focus and direction. I mean, he was
some kids do.
He was a knucklehead. He'll admit it, and it was the best thing in the world for him. And I do, like you said, I understand what you're saying, but I do know several families. I've got a friend of mine that her husband served for years and years, had 8 deployments. All 3 of their kids are serving. So, I mean, there are military families and stories. Stories like my son who just needed. He just was just wild as a buck and needed to be harnessed a little bit in the military.
When it comes to the military, you'll have the folks that will join where it's a family tradition.
Sure.
My great grandpappy fought in this battalion in the Civil War. You get the stories like that, and you get plenty of those.
Yeah, and my kid joined because he was very impressionable during 9/11. He grew up knowing about my friend that died in Vietnam.
That was a big one right there.
Yeah, and he grew up knowing Uncle Cooch who served. So, yes.
That generation. I just
had to clarify that a little bit.
That's not the norm, though. Yeah. I hate to tell you.
Yeah, I guess
I hate to tell you, it's not. You're experiencing it from a small micro level.
Right.
When you look at the big macro level, it is completely different. Mm-hmm. Now, when your son joined with 9/11, we saw huge uptick in veteran folks signing up because of 9/11, and we got attacked just like we did at Pearl Harbor.
Right.
But for the most part, even like today, now that recruiting numbers are down, you actually look at if you would actually look at the schools that are producing a lot more kids going, you're going to see more of the Cheatham Centrals, the schools where they're going to be a little rougher.
Okay.
You start seeing that a little bit more.
Are y'all a redneck school?
Well, okay. I'm
teasing you.
You ever called Matt one of those?
I'm just teasing you. Listen, Northern rednecks. Are you kidding me? My husband's relatives up in the Upper Peninsula are bigger rednecks than we ever thought about being.
Y'all haven't seen nothing. Go up to Northern Maine. It's just like.
Well, it's the same with the Upers. Say y'all to the UPA. Yeah, but If the Upers are rednecks.
Our graduation,
they're like,
we graduated, I think, 160, something like that this last week. And we had about 7 kids out of that percentage-wise. That's a pretty fair percentage. Yeah. I remember the year I was at Greenbrier, we only had like 3.
They're going into military?
We were going to the military the year the year we graduated at Greenbrier there. We only had like 3 kids joining. We have 7 or 8. It was like 7 or 8 kids that are joining out of a town like Ashland City, which is definitely a middle to lower. I'd probably say mid-lower.
Yeah.
Economic type town. You start seeing.
Yeah, a few more that go in.
And again, a lot of the kids. I know a lot of the kids that are going. And their lives aren't spectacular.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Anyway, but nonetheless, what we're saying, it's just this journey, and I knew we were going to do this. We really need 2 hours, guys, because I know how the conversations will go with y'all. The fact that everybody can benefit from Celebrate Recovery. It's what the church was founded to be.
Amen.
Where you come together. We lean into that verse, confess your sins to each other so you can pray for each other so you can be healed. And I just double down all the time on the what we call sin. We've got it so wrong. Sin is anything that interrupts your shalom. Anything that interrupts the peace in your life that God created us to be. He created us and put us in the garden and said, man, I want you to live at peace. And ugly. That's what my friend used to. Ugly. The liar, the deceiver came in and deceived us and pulled us out of that perfection, out of that shalom, out of that peace. And so sin is anything that interrupts that. Sometimes it's things you've done. Sometimes it's things that's been done to you. And sometimes it's just the old ugly world. Anything that interrupts your shalom. That's what you're supposed to come in and say, man, I'm going through this. I've done this. And somebody will go, oh, man, me too. And you pray for each other so you can all be healed.
All be healed.
That's what CR is to me in a nutshell.
You don't get any shame and guilt at CR.
Amen.
People accept you as you are. And that's refreshing to a lot of people. It was refreshing to me, coming out of a very legalistic religious background.
Yeah, same with me.
To see that. And that's what churches should be. I tell everybody, CR is church.
What I love about CR, I remember talking to your pastor when I sat down with you guys as a state rep. I get to talk to all these folks. And one of my, pitch lines, if you want to call it that, is it's not about Epiphany Baptist CR. It's not about Calvary CR. It's not about Church of Christ, Madison Church of Christ CR. It's about the ministry of CR. And if you think about the early church, there was no church.
Right.
As far as 4 walls, as far as a physical place, the church was where, two or more are gathered, he is present. And that was church. And they would go around and they'd move around. That's what makes CR so amazing, I think, is that that is the church. We could have hold CR down on the town square. Right. And that would be church. Because God is there. We're keeping God at the center. Now, we tell folks all the time that, we are a Christ-centered recovery group. We're not going to cram them down your throat. Right. Folks have been hurt legalistically. But I am going to share what God is. I would not be doing the things I'm doing today without God.
He's our higher power.
He's our higher power. And I'm not going to make any apologies for it. That's church.
Well,
and I think what attracts people to us, to CR, is they see, wow, okay, it's not about legalism. It's not about has to be this, has to be that way. CR is multi-denominational. You'll find them in Catholic Church, Methodist, all forms of Protestant, whether it be Baptist, Seventh-day, Church of Christ. The list goes on and on, all the different places that have opened up CRs. It's non-denominational.
And all those,
we're not going to tell you how you guys don't use instruments. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's part of your church doctrine, and we're not here to change church doctrine, but we're just trying to create a place. But if I go to your church, your church, the basic outline on how that's run that evening is the same as it is at ours.
Right.
I go to Spence's, it's the same. I go to Long Hollow, the same.
Yeah.
Difference could be the size. You know, you go to Long Hollow and you get this big mega church, been at it for
20 years
20 years now. Yeah, they're going to have bigger numbers. You come to ours, we're looking at 20 people.
That's us too.
Yeah.
And sometimes people need that. Sometimes the big is just a little too intimidating,
20's
and they
okay.
need the more intimate.
It's not about the
And,
size.
Yeah.
I know early on I struggled with that. I was like, I wanted the big, massive, go big or stay home. But you start to kind of realize that, it's not about that. It's about that one person that maybe this is their church every for us on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the one time a week because maybe they're still struggling with their church life. But hey, at least they're getting a little bit of Jesus today. Now, we're not trying to replace church. I want to make sure we're clear there. Because that is like for me as a sponsor to Spence and you guys as sponsors, we tell folks, okay, my requirement for me to sponsor you is you got to go to church. You got to have a home church. You got to talk. You got to reach out to me periodically. Let's make sure we're talking. You got to get in the Word and attend CR.
Yeah.
So CR is just a para ministry of a church, and it could benefit churches so much. Gives a lot of their folks that are within the church. They don't. The way it started was the way when John Baker started it was he was going to AA and he found freedom in AA, but yet he could talk about his addiction, but he couldn't talk about God.
Right.
It was frowned upon. But then he'd go to church on Sunday, and this is I think where a lot of the folks who get the church hurt is you go to church on Sunday and you can't talk about your struggles because that's not the place to talk about your problems.
Right.
Which I will never understand that mentality. So he created CR. He realized that there was a gap there that needed to be filled, and the Holy Spirit filled him, and he created CR back in 1991, and here we are today. It's the largest recovery ministry on the globe.
Right. And it is global. And it's like, that's the reason I put the little Jesus out here. Is that something we adopted at our CR is we're like, if you've been through other recovery programs that talk about higher power, well, we name Jesus Christ as our higher power. And if you try a recovery program, it's got a little Jesus in it, you might see you want a whole lot more. And so we give out these little Jesuses. And so.
Well, I need to put in a plug now that Matt brought in sharing your struggles in the church service. This Sunday at Calvary, we're actually having a cardboard service.
Oh, my.
And
a cardboard testimony service?
Cardboard testimony service.
If you've never been to a cardboard testimony,
Pastor Gary, you could not ask for I could not ask for a better support than Pastor Gary.
That's
and,
awesome.
And he is very much into creating a welcoming atmosphere at a church that may not have always been that way. And so we're having cardboard testimonies, and
that'll be powerful.
This time we got 17.
Wow.
And those aren't CR people.
Yeah.
Those are people within the church.
Wow.
And I'm really excited about it. And it's going to be awesome to see people that are in our church opening up and saying something they've never said before publicly.
Yeah.
And
wow.
And we've seen quite a handful of our people already come to CR and getting blue chips and, and these small groups.
And that's an idea to bring into our congregation too.
CR will benefit a church. It's benefiting our church, and it'll change a church in a good way.
What time do y'all meet on Sunday mornings?
10.
What time? It'll
10
be
o'clock
at 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
So do y'all do you have a live stream?
Yes, it's on Facebook.
So we could watch it on Facebook. Okay. Because I know that I can't be there at 10 a.m., but I would love to see that because I bet that's going to be powerful.
Yeah.
That's going to be powerful.
Pastor Gary has really taken a hold of the way CR ministers to people and is accepting of people.
Yeah.
And so he felt led. He contacted me about 3 weeks ago and said, "Hey, God's placed this on my heart. Can we get it done?" So
that's great.
And
that's amazing. Yeah. That will be powerful. If you've never seen a cardboard testimony, guys, it is just we did one, our first anniversary that we still share from time to time. We have it recorded, and it was so powerful, so powerful. And
there's some amazing stories. Wednesday night, those of us in CR kind of helped the other people write theirs, pare it down because we tend to get real wordy.
Yeah, you got to have it in a short.
But
that's funny.
But some
that's
of the things that people have have experienced that have never said out loud. It's going to be so freeing for them.
Yeah. How cool. That's the thing. What you just said there, things that people have experienced that they've never said out loud. I had, I never seem to get to go to the women's conferences and things like that we have at church. They'll have like women's retreats and all that. And it's just, I've always got something going with grandkids or something. Yeah, I know I need to do a break. Matt's going, don't forget your break. But I wanted to make this point real quick. We had a retreat one time, and I had so many women come back and say, oh, you missed it. Because what they did is they had a questionnaire. It's like, I struggle with this, I struggle with that. And you would go through and check the things that you had experiences with. And then you would turn them in, you wouldn't sign them. And then you would hand them out. So you would get maybe mine. Okay. And then it would say, I'm struggling with alcohol. And how many stood up? And they were just shocked.
Wow.
I'm struggling with porn addiction. And how many would stand up? And it was just like, oh my gosh, and it's just the breathtaking going, oh, those kinds of things.
You realize you're not alone.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And it was so just breathtaking to them that they were seeing that, okay, it's not just me. And so it was just a really powerful exercise. And the things that then were confessed, hey, that was me. And I want you to know that. And I need you to know that, and it was just such a freeing weekend. But, man, I just love the idea of doing a cardboard testimony.
Secrets keep you sick.
You better believe
when you get them out.
Amen.
There's a huge freedom in getting those secrets out.
Yeah, you're only as sick as your secrets.
And you have to know your audience who you're giving it out to.
Right, true.
Because like Pastor Gary says, God will forgive you, but some people won't forget. So you have to kind of temper who you're telling that to.
Move on. Yeah.
I got many stories on that one, but one thing I know I shared my testimony at one church one time, and a bunch of older folks there, and obviously my testimony is about adultery and such, and man, the glares I was getting from these old blue hairs was pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. But and if it wasn't for CR, I never would have admitted that I'd been sexually abused. It was from hearing other stories of it. And then you start diving in. It makes you passionate about these topics. Mm-hmm. Start diving in. We know everybody knows the stats that 1 out of 4 women have been abused, but people don't realize 1 out of 6 men have been abused.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's we live in a society where men don't talk about it. We brush it down. But then that will affect ours. Hurt people hurt people. Mm-hmm. So once thanks to CR and hearing other people and realize I wasn't alone, I was able to break the chains of that struggle there. So, and it's cardboard testimonies, it's the verbal testimonies, it's the realizing you're not on an island. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, and you're right. I do need to take a break, and I'm sitting here looking at my stuff here. And we only have one sponsor today, but I do want to mention my other sponsors, UPS Store, one of our sponsors here. Go by and see them. They're not just for your Amazon drop-offs, even though I do have some things I got to drop off for Amazon, returns from Amazon today, but they're everything that you need, from shredding to postcards and to mailbox drop-offs, so you don't have to worry about porch pirates. And I went and visited with Julie Bernard and Steve Bernard yesterday at Bernard Farms, because they had given a lot of their people off this week, so I knew I'd be able to catch them in there. I think we were in there 2 hours just talking, standing at the counter, and they're delicious breakfast sandwiches that they have, and then burgers, and just all kinds of fun little gift items. Go to Bernard Farms this weekend and enjoy talking to them. But we want to talk about, of course, Barry and Rebecca Richards, our full-time sponsor, longest-running sponsor. I was just looking at some of the listings that they have. Barry sends me listings pretty much every day. They have one, looks like it's just had a price drop on it on Stacy Springs Road here in Springfield, a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house. That's one thing. Get on their list. If you're looking for a home, reach out to Barry and Rebecca and tell them the zip code you're looking for. They'll send you listings all the time. They'll let you know if one's got a price drop, if something's changed on it, if it's ones that you're just, keeping an eye on. I'm very intrigued about this place up in Cottontown. It's on Rebecca's site. It's at 358 Spring Valley Drive in Cottontown. I just can't believe that one's going to be on the market very long. It's got 5 acres. It's absolutely gorgeous. The house is gorgeous. It is just a peaceful little retreat, little creek running through it. I just can't believe, as close as that is access to Nashville and all the surrounding areas. I can't believe that's going to be on the market very long. And something too, because of high-speed internet coming in through our electricity now with Cumberland Connect, that has helped bring properties that were rural that did not have access to high-speed internet, making them much more appealing. That's one thing I told Barry. If we had gotten Cumberland Connect when my son and his wife were, they ended up back in Mount Juliet where she's from, but I think we would have been more appealing to them had we had high-speed internet a little bit earlier on, but now we do, so you don't have to worry about that, because so many people are working from home and they need that connectivity. So all of those things come into play when you're talking about property, when you're buying or selling, whatever you're looking for. Maybe you want to be a realtor. They would love to mentor you into the real estate game. They both came out of different careers and went full-time with real estate. Barry was a marketer for 17 plus years in Nashville. He is now running a brokerage office here in Springfield. Rebecca has her agency office up in White House. She's one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. She started out in radiology, y'all. So they know how to navigate the waters of changing careers, and they made sure that they were with a company that crossed every T, dotted every I, and they're still with Exit, just a new branch in the Exit tree, Exit Prime Realty. They were with the Garden Gate team forever. But you can reach out to them at 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. They're Cross Plainians here in Robertson County, so they have been for nearly 30 years. Got here about the same time I did. It's home. And so they specialize in Robertson County properties, but also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky, because also like me, they're originally from Kentucky, y'all. Reach out to them today. Barry and Rebecca Richards, Exit Prime Realty. Always let them know U-Turn sent you. All right, guys, drive the ship. All the sponsors are done. Mentioned everybody.
Matt brought up our conversation kind of went toward the military, and I'd like to plug something else for those guys out there in the military.
Is that you or me? Okay.
That's Matt.
Matt, you're fine, buddy.
My wife.
Hi, Christy. Chief.
At Long Hollow, we now have it's been going on for 2 years now. We have a CR small group called Frontlines Recovery. It's for current and former military and first responders, firemen, policemen, medics.
Spence was fireman.
Yes.
Yes.
And that class has really exploded in the last year.
I bet.
And the good thing is most of the guys that are coming are active duty.
Yeah.
And just letting that wall down to be able to talk and to sit back and watch that. So I encourage anyone that is dealing with anything, CR is for everything, that are in that profession or that were in that profession to come. We sit around and we talk like we do in our professions. It's a very laid back atmosphere, and it's really doing well. And I hope one day that it can be brought to other CRs. CR itself does have Welcome Home, which is just basically for military, right?
Yeah, we started that up. We tried that years ago when I was going to CR there.
Yeah,
consistently. I brought it up with the folks at national level, and they were really adamant about keeping it military, which I still strongly disagree with, because a lot of the things that we go through that go guide people to the first responders, whether it be a cop, fireman, paramedic, military, we all got in it for the same reasons. Right. And I just never agreed with that, so I was very happy we now started that, because we share the same. I mean, I think of like the bombing downtown Nashville. There's really two types of people wired you're only really wired a certain way. When a bomb blows up, you have the folks that, like you and I, that will run towards it, and you have the folks that run away. Now, there's nothing wrong with the folks that can run away. It's a fight or flight, and there's just some of us that we're just naturally going to go towards the explosion. It's just how we're wired, and because of that, we try to act like it's water on a duck's back. Military, I know, likes to pride ourselves on the things that we've done. Man, I couldn't handle. I would struggle with half the things I had to see if I was a fireman showing up to a car crash and like there's a dead child in there or
I
something
can't
like
even
that.
imagine.
You know, that would tear me up before I was a cop, and showing up to a house where there was a case of spousal abuse. I mean, I would billy club the crap out of somebody.
Yeah.
You know, I would lose my job quick. You know, so I'm strongly thankful that you guys are doing that. I really am, because it's.
And according to Spano, they have reached out to him.
Danny Spano is the leadership at Long Hollow.
And the National wants to talk to us about this program. It just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought it up years ago, and I got a little pushback from it. Again, not like so much in a negative sense. I think Welcome Home was still kind of new at the time, and they want to kind of get it off the ground first. But I'm glad that that's very positive.
Yeah. Very good, because I mean, it's just. Are we kind of striking a chord with you guys? Everybody has something. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a hurt, habit, or hang up that is hanging them up and keeping them from being everything that they need to be. I see so many people that their reactions to just minor things are so unjust. It's to the point that it is debilitating. Mm-hmm. And if you've got something like that that's holding you back in life and keeping you from really living what God has purposed you for, then Celebrate Recovery is for you. It's for everybody.
I want to add something else onto it on that as well too, as far as like what we talk about this. So if folks are listening, don't know what CR is or how it runs, and they hear about meetings and think about, oh, it's just everybody talking around. You know, we envision what we see on TV and movies, where it's everybody sitting around talking about their addiction or their struggle, and that's not the case. No. We have a large group service. That's how we started off for 1 hour. It's basically, it's kind of like a church service in a sense, with this worship music. You hear a testimony or a lesson, some prayer. Our second hour is when we go to small group, and that's really kind of where the real healing kind of starts. You start building a community. Is we don't sit around and talk about. I don't talk about, oh, it's been X amount of days or years since I've had a drink. That's not how we're talking. We're talking about the things that we're struggling with right now. Right. You know, we discuss the byproducts. You know, this week was an all right week for me. You know, if this were to be a small group right now, I just say, you know, this has been a good week. I'm off, and I'm a little stressed right now because I am taking 2 classes right now for working on my doctorate, and there's got all these deadlines and assignments for writing these papers, and it's caused me a little bit of stress, but I'm getting through it. You know, just continue prayers that I please continue to give me the, you know, discernment to make sure I, you know, put my priorities right. I'll struggle with my health a little bit, get some foot issues, shoulder issues. The whole middle-age thing's kind of rough. And thanks for letting me share.
Yeah. Well,
that's exactly how it would look in a small group. We're not talking about, you know, the past, because this is a forward-thinking ministry, not a backward-thinking. Now, if you want to say, okay, in the past I would have dealt with it with drinking, but I'm not now. Thanks be to Jesus. But I just want to make sure I point that out, because a lot of folks get nervous about coming to CR because they think that it's going to be everybody just sitting around talking about their past struggles, and that's not the case. It's not how we operate. We operate realizing that we're thinking down the road, not behind us.
Well, it's just like when we first walked into the room, we almost had a little small group, you know, because I've missed it because we've been out because of baseball. I mean, we've had, you know, I needed to be at the Celebrate Recovery and small group over the last couple of weeks just to kind of, you know, have support from my sisters. But I've had, you know, conflicts with my grandson's games and things. And so they were sharing, I mean, and this is because I've asked them to, you know, I called my friend Muriel and said, hey, let them know what's going on. And so I know they're praying for me, and they're you know what I mean? I've got such a relationship with my girls. I can say, hey, Muriel, tell everybody this, and I just need to be praying over this. And so it's that relationship you really miss. Once you've got, you know, that's one thing. I haven't been involved with my girls up at Epiphany because of scheduling and stuff. And so this summer I want to reconnect with them because I miss them. I miss those relationships. And you just build these relationships. You just can't. We are
building a strong women's group too.
Oh yeah.
We're building a strong women's group.
Yeah. If you girls need somewhere to be, yes. Epiphany's got a very strong women's group right now.
And the problem with guy,
really
the guy groups, and you find it most, a lot of CRs, that guys groups usually have a tendency of being smaller because we have that old mindset of, well, I don't have to deal with that. Men aren't supposed to deal with our problems.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Denial. Lesson one.
Truly.
Or it's denial, but in the same sense too. We're wired. We've been wired through childhood on the role what men are supposed to do.
Yeah, not be that vulnerable. Men don't cry, that kind of stuff.
I cry like a baby now.
Yes, you do.
All the time. All the time.
He'd be teaching and he'd just start crying, but it's special.
But the walls are down.
Yes.
The walls are down, man. Just be real. If something hurts, it hurts. If it's something that not nowadays, I cry for a lot of positive things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true. Happy tears. Happy tears.
Happy tears. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you. It makes you more of a man, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's some of the most beautiful conversations I've had with my husband are whenever I can see tears in his eyes and see the vulnerability and just that's just that heart that's just trying to be the best he can be. And but we all are what we've known our whole life. And so we have things we have to overcome, and Celebrate Recovery is a place to get through those.
I think it's when you start to really understand that sacrifice is made on that cross. I've shared with you guys that on Tuesdays, and I think about the cross. It would have been, it wasn't this smooth lumber that you're buying from Lowe's. It would have been rough wood. The beating that man took before as he had to carry his cross up to Calvary, gets nailed onto that cross, and to lift himself up, to get that final breath. Our names are written on that cross. Our names are written on that vertical piece of that cross. And to have himself lift himself up, that rough wood would have ripped the flesh back open from the wounds he had taken from the whipping. And the blood pouring out on that cross that was covering my name.
Yeah.
I'm all right with crying for that.
Yeah.
Amen.
Because that's sacrifice that only one person was ever able to give.
You know what? So I love listening to you, Matt, because you didn't, like Spence and I, we grew up in the church. You came to it when I meet people like yourself that didn't grow up with this, and I see the passion that you have, I envy it. Because it's just always been there for me. And so when you meet people like Matt that came to it later in life, the passion that you have for Christ is so beautiful. And I just, we take it for granted because we've never not had it.
Right.
I mean, just think about it.
It's so beautiful.
Think about the early believers. They were all believers before. I mean, just they fell away. And it wasn't until they actually met Jesus. I think of Paul on the road to Damascus. We've all been that. We've all had that in our moment. We call that our D-Day, our bottom, our blue chip day. It's you met Jesus on the road to Damascus, and he blinded you. Eventually, you were blind, but now I can see. I think we're all at that point. That's just kind of our bottom. And whether like you guys grew up in the church or me not, it's really irrelevant. I know so many folks. I've been going to church since I was knee high to a grasshopper. Every time the doors were open, we were there. Did I do the enunciation right? Okay. So you guys have heard that once or twice.
I was born there.
But yeah,
literally.
Because again, that wasn't going to church. That was going to a church.
Right.
That wasn't going to church.
Yeah.
And at some point, whether you've been in the faith your whole life, or kind of a late bloomer like myself, ultimately we all have our moments of Paul on the road to Damascus.
Yeah.
And that's when your eyes are clear. So it doesn't really matter, how long you've been a believer. There's plenty of the Pharisees believed in God, but were they really living it out?
Oh, ugly believes.
Right?
Yeah.
And
how many of those did he convert? Like I love watching The Chosen and watching like the transformation that Nicodemus has in the show. It's just that was an utter transformation.
I love that. That's just, if you've not discovered The Chosen, y'all.
Next season comes out next week. I can't wait.
I wanted to see that in the theaters, and I just never could get the time. I just
you had to go like every day. You had to go like every week.
I know, and I just did not have time. I did not have time, and I didn't want to start it until I could finish it. So it's coming out. Yeah, it's coming out.
I can't wait.
Oh, I know a young man, and I want to have him in before he leaves. A little kid, a young man that I've known forever. It's going to be a intern. he just graduated with his degree in film and in editing and all that. He's going to be an intern
with The Chosen.
Yes, isn't that exciting? And he's a local. Awesome. And I'm not going to tell you who, but when his mama told me that the other day, I thought, ooh, I'd like to have him in here before he goes. I think that's exciting. And then, isn't that cool?
Yeah, you get the scoop afterwards.
What is that? Yeah. What's the actor's name that plays Jesus? Jason. He's got a kind of weird name.
Plays Jesus. Rumi.
Yeah, I love him.
He's so good. He's real.
He crushes that role, and he is a true believer too. I love the fact that he's part of the Bible or the prayer app, and he is very unapologetic of his faith and his and he crushes that role.
It's so funny because I talk a lot about my friends from Egypt. I've got a lot of Egyptian friends because I've worked in English second language, taught them English when they first got here. He's half Egyptian. One of his parents is Egyptian. I think his dad. And so he is, he's got that ethnicity in, and that's why I love that the guy that's playing Peter is Jewish. He's Jewish. And I mean, you talk about intelligent. I've seen in some interviews with him, I think he speaks like 3 or 4 languages.
They did an
amazing musician.
They did an amazing job of casting.
They
for that.
really did.
They really did.
I mean, oh my goodness! And when I think about how that, and I'm thinking, what's the guy's name that produces it? I'm going blank.
I can't think of his name.
The director, but we're awful. We're getting old, y'all. But he had so many struggles with his career trying to launch his. Dallas Jenkins. He had so many struggles trying to launch his film career. He's such a brilliant filmmaker, and you just see how God used him. It's incredible. But anyway, yeah. If you've not discovered The Chosen, yes, it is back around. This is Celebrate Recovery Friday, Faith Friday edition, the 5th Friday. So I'm so glad my brothers could come in here, and it's time to wrap up, guys. Go ahead and. Here. Let's do the big invites to all of it. Y'all know mine's on Wednesday night. The one that we have at Madison, because it is the volunteers. I mean, I've missed so much in the last couple of months because I had seniors graduating my homeroom class, and I've had just some stuff going on. But our volunteers are amazing. They've been running it, and they're just awesome. When's yours? Tell them. Go ahead, Spence.
Celebrate Recovery at Calvary in Greenbrier, Sundays at 5. Mm-hmm. At 4:00, we have the hangout where you can come and have some drinks, some snacks, meet people. We have a large group starts at 5, followed by small group. Child care is available.
There you go.
And I would also throw in there this Sunday at 10:00 at Calvary, we're going to be having cardboard testimonies. And if you've never witnessed that, it's an amazing thing. And if you don't know what that is, Google it.
Yeah, and it's powerful. Epiphanies?
Tuesday nights, 211 First Avenue here in Springfield. Again, it's 211 First Avenue in Springfield. We meet every night. We start at 6:30. We do have dinner at 5:30. We do offer childcare. We also have a teen program is going as well.
The landing.
We do like with the childcare and the landing. We encourage that. So you get some folks out there that want to check out CR, and you got kids and I can't make it because I got to feed them. Hey, we'll feed them for you for free. Mm-hmm. We'll also we looked after them too, regardless of age, birth all the way up to high school. So come on out. Again, that's 211 First Avenue. We meet on Tuesday nights. I also like to plug next Saturday. We do the first Saturday of every month. We do a movie night. And this month, I'm going to play Woodlawn. We've done Bonhoeffer. We've done The Blind. I try to keep all Christian-based movies. Woodlawn it's been out there for a little while, but it's just kind of a good movie as far as it's a football movie.
Okay, I was wondering. I'm not familiar with it.
It's about desegregation. In a Florida school, but definitely it's all about Jesus. Definitely is
very cool.
So please join us for that. That'll be at 6:30 again, 211 First Avenue. 6:30, popcorn, soda. I'll be there provided for you. We turn the worship hall up into a big old movie theater, and it's been pretty good turnout every time we've done it.
Outstanding.
So if you're looking for something to do, come join us for the movie night.
I think you need to do a redo of Bonhoeffer. I couldn't come to that one. I really want to see that.
Bonhoeffer was good.
I want to see that. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I think if you're a nerd, you definitely love Bonhoeffer. I love Bonhoeffer. He's one of my favorite theologians. Yeah, for sure. And again, Madison's is on Wednesday night. We're just follow the same pattern that Matt's at Epiphany. We have dinner at 5:45, and then we have large group at 6:30, small group at 7:30. And because we have church going on, it's church night. There's classes for you kiddos throughout, and so we can take care of everything. Thank you for joining us. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Go to church this weekend. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless. Have a great weekend.
DeMoss says when the battle gets tough, don't lose perspective.
It's not about us. Remember